Animals are not vegetable, nor there are any food products for us to enjoy, but they are the lives. They share the same feeling with us, so we should have at least respect to their feelings.
Since the beginning of time, humans have exploited animals, killing them for food and clothing, sacrificing them in religious rituals, working them to death, experimenting upon them, and enslaving them simply for entertainment. As a result, millions of animals suffer unbearably every day. Humans dominate every aspect of life on this planet without regard for the interests and feelings of animals and their right to happiness. They have received little, if anything, in return. One such person is Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, a Buddhist master who has spent his whole life working for the happiness of all beings, teaching others through his words and actions how to practice loving kindness and compassion. He strongly emphasizes the shortcomings of killing and cruelty to animals, and the benefits of vegetarianism and liberating animals.
When Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche heard about the possibility of the sacrifice of these yaks, and as usual he couldn't bear to hear it, and he immediately asked me whether we can save them or not. And my answer was immediately, yes, we can do.
The decision has been made to rescue a herd of yaks from slaughter and find them a safe home. The ideal sanctuary will be the remote Himalayan valley of Rowaling. The journey begins here in Kathmandu.
We start the journey without having a drop of water early morning. So we're going to have a breakfast once we get out of the city. Yeah? Yes.
Driving on the roads is always uncertain in Nepal, and the yak rescue team meets its first challenge just after several hours of driving.
So now we're trying to get another bus to back up. The car has broke down, so we're about 35 kilometers away.
After several further breakdowns and 12 hours later, Geshe Jinpa finally arrives to meet the rest of the team at Jiri, the entry point for all mountain trekking in the Everest region.
Finally to Jiri.
Hello. Hello. As dawn breaks, the team gathers all the necessities for the journey. Food supplies, stoves, generator, fuel, tents, and so forth. Everything that's needed for a team of 22 herders and porters to survive a 2-week-long arduous trek through largely uninhabited territory.
So we begin to walk.
The journey to Dukunda, where the yaks are being sold, begins here. Despite the heavy 50-kilogram load on their backs and the knowledge of a hard walk ahead, the team is in high spirits, filled with excitement to save the yaks.
We're about at 2,000 meters above the sea level. We have to be at about 5,000 meters above the sea level to meet the animals, the yaks.
With only a short window to make this trip, the time has been chosen carefully. Just after monsoon season, before the winter snow begins, as a few weeks' delay would have greatly increased the level of difficulty and danger in making the trip. Despite the careful planning, the rain still came unexpectedly, making the tracks dangerously wet and slippery, with many unwelcome visitors along the way.
In fact, I think they also have the same feeling. They're designed for food. Oh.
With the thin Himalayan air, the team makes its way along the labyrinth path. However, they ascend too quickly, going from 6,000 to 13,000 feet in a single day. One of the crew members is unaccustomed to the sudden shift in altitude and experiences difficulties.
Just to save some animals, you work so hard like this. It's great.
It would be a risk for him to continue, so the team moves on without him. After a long, hard day, the team finally settles down for a late dinner. They were greeted by a bright and clear morning the next day. It was indeed the clearest day so far.
All sentient beings know difference in terms of feeling. So just for our slightest comfort, happiness, using lives of many sentient beings, I think it's very inhumane.
Five days have passed since the journey began. They finally arrive in Dukunda, where they meet the yaks for the first time.
Tama Songba Shembini, Nyoni, Tama Kan Rere Lamla Seni, Dene Seni, Dene Shatong, Duyabala, Kino, Tamati, Tila Yidama Songba Shembi, Nyola, Tamani, Chetatong, Lamigi, Tama, and the Lama Kyabje Zopa Rinpoche, Kopan, Lamigi, Tamati, talking Nyoni Chetatong, Seni, Tama, Malakana, Tang, the Hunga, the Naka, the Hunga, nga mambura mambura nga rasma na morigi di nga di ore chuma da mi da tu jabu subala reudi ra na more diba di chilab di diba ta ku thau The animal liberation is not just about saving the animals from the immediate death. Of course, if you can save any animals from the immediate death, that's the immense benefit. But more importantly, their life has to be meaningful after the survival. The main thing is that they need to purify the negativities which has caused them to go into lower realm, such as in animal. So only way is that through the power of the different object, holy object, such as hearing mantra, seeing holy images of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, that is all about the animal liberations. Because due to that hearing of mantras and going around holy object, so their negativities will be purified, and in the future they will gain better life, such as human and even higher life, and ultimately they get liberations from the oceans of suffering, the samsara.
The yaks were purchased from 12 different families. It is now that the real challenge begins, as the team has the task of herding the yaks across the treacherous mountains from Dakunda. All the yaks were herded closely together for a few days so they would get used to each other. Even so, it was still a great challenge keeping the herd together across the mountains, with some wandering off and others refusing to budge. After an exhausting 9 to 10 hour hike every day, the team tried to cheer themselves up by keeping their spirits high.
Simko khelai simko kulo danko khelai kulo sansarama sabai banda thulo raicha ma samapire samapire odera jauke arama manjang samapire. Basically, I was responsible for all the 108 yaks and also the 22 crew members. So as the journey gets tougher, I began to worry, Sometimes I couldn't sleep at all and worrying that's what happens if yaks fell down and injured and they cannot move. And what happens if some of the crew members just slip over the cliff and fell down or fell sick? So these thoughts coming in, and it worried me so much. So then only thing that I can rely on was the prayers. So I was really praying hard from my heart. So we pray in the morning before the journey begins and also at the evening. So that's the only what I can rely on.
Mantras and prayers are recited to the yaks every day, all along the way. Yaks are beautiful domesticated creatures that mainly inhabit the Tibetan Plateau and high Himalayan regions of Nepal, Bhutan, and India. The inhabitants of these areas have kept yaks for centuries, partly out of love for these gentle animals, but also their numerous uses in producing milk, cheese, and wool, and even for transportation purposes. Garments and tents made out of yak wool are necessary for keeping warm during the cold winter months. More recently, due to the extreme effort needed in taking care of yaks, coupled with the lack of interest among the younger generation towards having to endure the harsh environment in the mountains, the yak population has steadily declined.
By liberating animals, the most incurable diseases such as HIV/AIDS and the cancers also can be cured. So animal liberation is not only about helping animals, but also is very beneficial for the human being also.
Food throughout the journey is quite minimal, made mostly out of potatoes. The day begins with a simple breakfast, and there is no time to stop for lunch, as the people have to move at the speed of the yaks. So a simple loaf of bread has to suffice all day until evening camp. The team finally reaches the halfway point on day 10. Although the weather has been more favorable than previous days, Geshe Jinpa worries, as he knows the journey ahead could be even tougher from this point on. The route over the mountains can often be confusing, as it changes according to the weather conditions. Discussions about changes to trekking routes and schedules is constantly required amongst the crew. The trails chosen were tough due to the peculiarity of the yaks surviving best on thin air. Even a few days at altitudes below 10,000 feet would cost the yaks their lives. Thus, after a great deal of deliberation, Geshe Jinpa's worries were not unfounded. The decision has been made to take the more difficult mountain route, one that traverses several high rocky mountain ranges, tight valleys, wild, freezing rivers, and treacherous, narrow paths along steep, dangerous cliffs. Handling the animals requires some expertise. Even though they are animals, the yaks do have the intelligence to feel human affection. Shouting or beating them doesn't help them to make them go along the path. Yaks can be very gentle with the right amount of care given. Thus, with some tender loving care, a few Sherpas carefully and successfully guide them along the difficult cliffs smoothly. The schedule for the journey so far has been nothing short of perfect, with the food supplies kept according to plan. The Yaks and the 22 crew members finally find a nice place to camp for the last night before crossing the final 18,000-foot pass the next day. Celebration fills the air and the mood is high as everyone is happy, enthusiastically singing, dancing and partying into the chilly dark night in the Himalayas. The team is greeted by one of the loveliest mornings the next day as everyone awakes with delight. This is to be the last morning before reaching the final destination. As some of the tired herders rest, a few of the others go up to check the path for the final crossing. However, the advance party soon returns with very bad news. The only road leading from the 18,000-foot crossing has been completely washed out by the monsoon rains, and there was no other way to proceed, as surrounding it were sheer cliffs plunging hundreds of meters into the valleys below.
We were panicked, no, because there's no any other options where we can pass through. So that started to panic, and some of my members even say it cannot be rebuilt even in a month. So which was really discouraging, and it made me more worried. But thanks to some of my Sherpa crew members who are quite encouraging, so they say it can be reconstructed. So then I decided we should rebuild it. By the way, there's no other options than this.
At this point of the journey, there was no turning back, and there was only one solution: to pave the way through and rebuild the road. As there is a shortage of food, some of the crew have to go all the way back to the nearest village to get more supplies. Once again, the team face yet another arduous task ahead. For hours, every day, the herders reconstruct the track, slowly breaking down the big boulders obstructing the path, carrying up and paving the stones to make the path possible. The reconstruction was made worse by the occasional snowfall. Finally, after 6 hard days of expert work by the skillful team of herders, the road is ready once again for crossing. As the Yaks and crew make their way for the final push of the journey, all make strong prayers for everyone's safety and a smooth final journey. Now the Yaks are just a step away from their final destination, Rolwalling Valley. If they make it successfully across the 18,000-foot final path, they will find themselves in a new home where their lives will be safer and happier.
How you feel?
Great. We are success. We crossed 100 yaks all over safely. But some are tired, so they are resting up there. So it was very success. I think this is a history. Nobody has so far dared to bring such big number of yaks across this 5,500 meter above the sea level, and plus the road was very steep, and we had to stop there for 6 days to repair the road, and we successfully crossed all 100 yaks. So 100 yaks liberation project was in fact successful.
As the yaks finally arrive in the valley of Rawaling, the villagers who have volunteered to take care of the yaks out of their love and compassion give a warm welcome to Geshe Jinpa and his entire team. Many of them were amazed to hear about the success of the journey, as they could have never imagined that such an odyssey with 108 yaks across those mountains was possible.
Didi to Guru Murje, Jinjila Shabi, Bivine, that Pejanana Chazana de la Kalarum, Bill Kalarum, and the Bill Kan and the Kalarum, the Nedi, and Ulbuchong Veneres, that me Ulbu to say, so to say, net race. Near Chabarjin the Regire, Chidangida, Pajab Machumba Remado, Yongsu Tabajina, such a Shendana Manadilla, such a Chunjunala, Ne J. Mambuchi or Relas. Tindeji or Umbadilla, Ngamane Tandapodo, Semjin Sokjeshini, Shadong, Tendeja looks to the Namani Yomare, Nangama the Tia Mambo Yore, Chizu, Pargabjilla, Gembazama, and Shingpep, then Parsula, the Dia Sama Yam, Chawadella, Italian Tola, and Dia Tende Jatu the Leisure of the Ningamagi looks to the young, Lumbadilla Trading the touch up with young Hegi. And Tindeji Narangi, Gasudan Reward within the Chungsong.
As the yaks are brought to their new caretakers, Geshe Jinpa carefully instructs them on how to attend to the yaks' spiritual well-being by reciting prayers and mantras to them daily. Finally, after 19 days of grueling uphill trekking and adventure, the yaks once again roam freely in the mountains. Each one safely in the refuge of a new human family who will care for them for the rest of their lives.
In the G, Namatiga, Jajamba Medayan, soft Kajung last now. Among the Allah Somagis Nang Ka Jovgan, the Tibetatero, the Saiti Bangtero.
Madugo Majavalani, Catho Kam, Yanguchi, the Madan, Nasola, Timezio, Catho, nay la ji tik ba ji duk ba ya wa kum bu kha mang ma je sin kha ji hon la ti te duk ba ra la sum zo re shi re nga do re ora khan da we so che bu an da la ni ba su go ji.
I consider this as a very miraculously successful journey. Shepherds who were driving the yaks, they are very skillful, and thanks to their expertise and their love for the animals, which make the journey very successful, and ultimately with no big obstacle, all the 108 yaks and 22 crew members was successfully reached to the final destinations. So I rejoice and thank them very much.
Mara makasama ibudi budi mama so muni o muni mara ya so chom de jiwana je sudo chala cha je sudo chala cha je sudo chala cha je sudo chala cha je sudo
Jilama nala suade kukaji jinji lo de so be garden pomona want you di tun den zabash o manem be me Jari Tsende Lama Di Jie Sang Jie Ye Mei Ji Wo Gong La Tu Jie Qian Bo Ji Wo Gong Ngang Yi Ge Zhu Mi So Den Zu O Ma Nem Be Me江当凝结千波宫，求结财诸位顿独坐，几家当内顿刚中央，祈求几给诸马哟，哦嘛念贝美。